Hey, this is Lorena, and I wanted to do a video for you on how it went with my Gammill maintenance guy service. Well, I'm just going to tell you what happened, okay? Wow. Initially, I lost the program on my computer. It would not connect to my machine, and I ended up uploading the program back onto my computer. And what happened is there's this weird calibration Gammill has created in their system where if you put the machine in the front center, it will move to the right and to the left and forward and back, and that's the way it calibrates the Longarm, or the Longarm system calibrated to your computer. I don't know any of the details, but it's kind of like that. And when I reinstalled the program, it wouldn't move, and it kept saying that I had an obstacle in the way and it would abort movement. I moved the machine off of the table and I flipped the table because I'm having error sensors on the lateral and vertical movement, and one of them, it's because there's thread caught here, so I want to maintenance her. And so you can see, like, here's the thread. Really? I want to remove all the thread. I want this to be able to move freely. Remove all the dirt and grime from this wheel. What I heard is if your Y motor or your X motor goes out, you may end up having an issue to where the machine completely stops and doesn't move anymore. And before I got to that point, and I have like 15 quilts to quilt that week for clients and my machine's messed up, I'd rather have it repaired than to have a situation where I can't work. And right now I could still work and get stuff done and still get the repair guy here. So that's kind of some of like why I've been doing what I've been doing. Sensor. I think I should put a new gasket on it. And you can see my wheel is really dirty. Dirt from there. And then this has a gasket. And we could pull this gasket out. And I even have an extra gasket, which I don't know if I need. Should I put in a gasket? I've never really ever had skip stitches like this unless it was a stitch regulator, and ever have I had skip stitches like that, especially on a completed quilt. It was shocking how many skip stitches were on the quilt. When I would go down and look at it, it looked great. It quilted beautifully, and then a couple skip stitches here and there throughout the whole quilt. And that's why I said, you know what, I need to call them. And then underneath you see what you saw on the other side. So you can see where the belt itself is getting worn. So we're gonna try to bring it in like 2 notches. No, and then when I did this right now, this dumb screw was loose. I guess all the wiggling and shaking and the jiggle.
Yeah, it's definitely tight.
No. Yeah. Now we need to attach this belt. All right, we need to open these because they tend to get a lot of thread. Look at the dirt on this sucker. Okay. I'm the kind of person that I don't want them here unless it's a major issue, unless it's a major problem, because I don't want to spend money on something that I could probably fix. So when I called Gammill about my issue, they were really good about getting me on a Zoom call and trying different things to figure out what's going on with my machine. And they found out that my Y motor was going out by some of the testing the technician did, working with me in different areas to diagnose what was going wrong. The guy was wonderful. He's a real nice man. I called and left one message, left my phone number and my name, and they called me back probably 3 hours later. So just know that sometimes when you're calling Gammill, it does take a little bit of time for them to get back with you, but they will get back with you. Gammill will not send you a technician unless you've talked to someone in technical support, from my understanding, and then from there they will kind of schedule the technician to come. Now I want you to know that scheduling a technician to come is not an easy thing for them. She was saying to me when we were scheduling that they had a backlog of 4 to 6 weeks before a technician could come to your space to work on your machine. And let me just tell you that for me, if my machine would have been dead, not working, that would have just been a full month's worth of work that I would have lost. If you are doing this as a business like I am, it could be very detrimental waiting 6 weeks for a technician to come to your home. I went ahead and got about 10 of my clients out as quickly as I could. I ended up literally working here like 4 days straight and getting as many quilts. Once I knew that the technician was scheduled to come 2 weeks ago, I was working my butt off to get as many clients as I could get out, so that if anything went wrong, if maybe a part wasn't available, or if he couldn't repair something that was going on, all my clients were done. For a technician to come to your home, it costs $369. Do I think it's worth it? Let me tell you, heck yes. If you have just gotten your Longarm and someone has set up your machine, especially if you're Gammill, the people who set up your machines are not technicians. So I do recommend that you ask for a service representative to come to your home and to go through your machine and make sure that it is set up right. I don't know if they'll do that for you, but I do recommend it. Because when my technician came and he looked at my machine, he's like, oh, she has a lot of problems. And I'm like, she runs like a gem. What are you talking about? He's like, no, she has some problems. He said that this was not right before it was just hanging loose. He says that it crimps the lines like this. And he went ahead and fixed that and put this right. So if your Longarm doesn't have this, it should look like this. Which, that's what this tab is for. But I told him when they put my machine together, it's always not been, it's never been like this. The guys who put my machine together, I have tried to maintain the exact thing that they've done. This technician said that certain things that they had on the machine shouldn't have been done that way. He also stated that this was put on wrong, and it had like a couple things on it, and he said it should have never had that. I guess the technician really does know what makes the machine run better and what it needs, and when someone sets up the machine, they're just there to put it together. They don't know how to tweak it so that it runs excellently. As he fixed this arm would fall, and I used to have like a thing with the thread spool, and now this is not falling, angling down. It was really neat to have him available to show me things that I didn't expect. My Longarm, on one of the belts, it was dragging, and when I would pull it, it would drag so hard. And we've coming to find out, because of the way it was set up, that is why my Y motor was going on wrong, or messing up, or going to fall apart on me. Another thing the technician did is this was hanging and dragging on the machine. Apparently there's 2 screws here. I didn't know you could unscrew. This bracket lifts up and down, and you can lift it so this is not dragging. That's what caused probably the damage to my Y motor. This machine just glides so smoothly. I was shocked at how smooth it was, and I've never have the long arm glide that smoothly. He checked all my seals, which I had already maintenance, and he also checked my belt, which I had already put on. My belt. He also stated that my belts on the long arm were sagging too much, and so this is how your belt should look. Your belt should look like this. Front belts were really sagging, and he went ahead, literally this was sagging down here, and he tightened them. The motor that they fix is a motor that goes here. It's called the Y motor. He had to flip this over and replace the motor. There is also a motor in here. It's called the X motor. And he says, oh, your wheels are not aligned right. You need to add washers. He added washers and fixed my wheels. My edge riders were not set properly in here. And one of them, it was kind of like, is the word cattywampus, and it was rocking back and forth on this, and he went ahead and put washers in one of them and realigned them so it doesn't wobble like it was. So I would bring up things and he would give me the solutions. For example, I told him I had bad stitches, and could it be this? And he literally said that the needle could not be positioned right, and that's what caused the bad stitching. So he literally said, save an old needle and clean that tubing area where the needle goes in, because lint can get caught in there. Like, wow, mind-blowing. Little things that I didn't know, he was able to answer. He really was a lot of help. So get an old needle, turn it, and then scratch inside this little channel and make sure there's no lint or dust in there, because it could impact how the needle sits. And he was telling me that that could have been one of the reasons why I had those weird skip stitches out of nowhere. Maintenance your machine as much as you possibly can. It made his life, I think he was surprised at how much I had already taken care of that he didn't need to deal with. And so he ended up dealing with stuff that I didn't even know needed dealing with. So do I recommend Gammill's technical support? They are wonderful. Do I recommend having a technician coming if you have a Gammill? Hell yes. I recommend you call them and have them come. I think it's worth the $369, because your machine may have been set up by someone who doesn't know how to work the machine, and if you have a technician come, they know what it needs. It could be something so small, but he went through the whole machine and fix things I didn't even know needed fixing. So, amen. What else he recommended me on repairing? I think I need to get a power surge supply for the back computer, and he also recommended me getting the umbilical cords. I call them the umbilical cords. For my Gammill, he says they should be replaced every 10 years. My machine's 14 years old. He, suggested upgrading the computer down the line, and I asked him about the stitch regulator sensors, and he says as long as they're working, he didn't recommend me replacing them. He did recommend replacing the switches that are on the Gammill. He says they connect to the XY motor better, and it's an updated system, so it would be better for the new system that I added. So there was recommendations of things that I should add. I think it's worth the $369. I really do. I ended up spending $1,751.49, and my machine is running beautifully.